Have you ever wanted to make a really cool sign? Just something that's so compelling and looks so challenging that few makers would even attempt to make one. Well, I like to make those kinds of things. I like to make things that are different and honestly really amazing. And in this video, I'm going to show you something that I've been working on recently. And I hope you join me to take on this challenge of using my laser cutter to create a custom infinity mirror sign from scratch. And I'm going to show you how easy it is and how you can get results that look like this. Infinity mirrors have always fascinated me, just the way they look when they create that mesmerizing endless tunnel effect and you look down there and it just looks so incredible. But you can find videos on how to make these things all over YouTube, and in the end, they're all just really cool mirrors. So I wanted to take advantage of that infinity effect, but then use it for something that I could maybe make some money off of. So I wanted to take advantage and make a sign, use a laser engraver, laser cutter, and reach just a whole new level of signage. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I did that and how easy it is. And we're just going to jump right in here. So let's get going. All right, to get started here, let's talk about what we're going to need for this project. And there's really not a lot here, but you're going to need some plywood, some 6mm or 1/4 inch plywood, and some 3mm or 1/8 inch plywood. And we're going to use that to create the actual box that we're going to put this sign in. You're also going to need a mirror. Now you can use a glass mirror that you can buy at any local store, or you can use mirrored acrylic. I'm going to use the latter just because I had some. And you're also going to need a piece of glass for the front of the sign, and that could be actual glass or it could be clear acrylic, because we're going to put film on that, and this window tinting film that will create a partial reflection. And that's the thing that actually creates the infinity effect. Now, in addition to that, you're going to need a couple strings of LED lights. I used white for the letters in my sign, and then RGB string around the perimeter on the inside of the box to create a colored, well, really any color of light you want inside the box. Other than that, you're going to need just a bit of glue, a bit of tape, some patience, and finally you're going to need a laser. Now, if you're just going to cut the wood, you can use a diode laser or a CO2 laser. But if you are using acrylic for the reflection surfaces, then you realistically need a CO2 laser. You're not going to cut that with a diode laser. But you can cut it by hand if you want. If you have a skill saw, you can cut it. Wear safety goggles because it shoots bullets everywhere. Or you can just cut it with a handsaw of some sort. And that's it. Other than a bit of tape and some patience and some glue, you're ready to go. Now, because this is a sign, I'm going to start with the actual wording of the sign. So I jumped into Kittle here, and I'm going to make a sign for our Shop Talk live stream that we do every week. And so obviously it's going to be Shop Talk, and then I want live to be in larger letters. And I'm just using Kittle for this, but you can use any drawing program you want. And I created this text, and I'm going to save it because I'm going to load it into Lightburn in a second. Now, I'm also building a box for this, and the easiest way to do that is with boxes.py. And my box is 250 millimeters square on the inside, and then there's going to be some 6mm material. So you can pump all those values into boxes.py. I'll actually show it up on the screen here, and that will generate the box for you. So I wanted to get the reflection, the mirrors out of the way first, and I know they're 250 millimeters square, so I can just cut out a square. In this case, I'm doing the front optic first, which is just made out of clear acrylics, and I peel the protective layer off, and then I'm going to drop this partial reflective film on and just roughly cut it. It doesn't have to be deadly accurate at this point, so I'm just cutting off the edges on two sides there, and then I'm going to put a piece of tape on each side of the film to peel off the protective clear coating on the glue side of the film. Spray a lot of soapy water down on the surface, getting rid of any dirt that might be on there because it'll show up. And then also spray the glue side of the film and lay it down, pat out the biggest of the bubbles just by hand, and then use a squeegee to squeeze out any air that's in there, and any additional water that's caught between the film and the glass. And when you're done, you get a nice smooth appearance. And finally, you can accurately cut the the sides so that there's no overhanging material. Now I've got it laid on a towel here, and that's because the front surface of that film is now unprotected and I didn't want it to get scratched. So I just peel it off, and that's all there is to the front mirror. Now the back of this project is just a full reflector, a standard mirror, and if you go to a hardware store or a craft store, you can probably find sheets of this stuff. It normally comes in 12-inch squares or 300 by 300 millimeter squares, depending on where you live. And if that's the case, make your project that size, then you don't have any cutting to do and you can use actual mirrored glass. I had this mirrored acrylic that I wanted to get rid of, so I pulled it out and it works just like a regular mirror. You can see here, you can see my smiling face through the protective film, but I dropped it on the laser face down. I cut out the 250 millimeter square. Then I did this extra step where I engraved the letters out on the back to engrave the mirrored surface off. And that's so that light can get through there to hit the letters and light them up. And because I didn't do a deep engrave, what I had to do after was just a bit of cleanup. So a little alcohol and some rubbing, and I got rid of the rest of the material that was left there. And you can see what you get. You get letter-shaped holes. Now we're going to fill those holes. So let's take it on to the next step. The next step is to actually make the letters. So I went back into Lightburn and I modified the project for the previous mirror engraving and just shrunk it down. And this is because I'm going to make a template with these letters on it. I'm using some translucent white acrylic, and that allows light to pass through but doesn't allow you to see through. I put some 3M tape on the back just so that I can stick these letters onto the mirror. And then I threw it on the laser and cut it out. And the letters come out quite nicely. I'll peel off the protective coating on the mirror, so we have to be careful now. And once that's done, then I can just use the outline that I created there as the template for this. So I'm going to line it up with the holes that I engraved on the mirror itself and tape it down. And then it's just a case of pulling each letter, peeling the 3M tape, the protection off of it, and sticking them in the holes. And this gives you a nice alignment. It's going to be perfect every time. I'll speed it up here so that you don't have to watch every individual letter. And once I'm finished, it's just a case of peeling the tape off and then carefully lifting that template up. And you can see you get a fantastic job. And there's still protective coating on the letters, so we'll peel that off now. And you kind of get a feel now for what that protective coating was hiding. It's that nice kind of milky white translucent acrylic, and that's the mirror is complete. I'll put a little light behind it just so you can see what it's going to look like. And the next step is to take the design from boxes.py and load it into Lightburn. Now I've added a couple of extra parts here. I've loaded these spacers, and they keep the front glass and the back mirror separated, and it allows a place to mount the light. So I just threw all this over to the laser. I'm cutting this out of 6mm acrylic, and it's just a bunch of glue and a bunch of tape, and then we'll put it all together and sit and wait for the glue to dry. And once that happens, I'm just going to throw a quick coat of paint on it. This isn't my best work, but I didn't want it to be standard wood. And with all that done, we can start assembling. So I'm going to put the front reflector in. Now the film is on the inside, so be careful with that so that it doesn't get damaged. As far as these spacers, I figured I might want to be able to take this apart sometime. So I'm just going to put a single drop of CA glue in there and drop this spacer in, slide it in, and hold it down. And when we get all of those in, the mirror at the front is fixed. I'm going to use those spacers to hold my LEDs for the inside, and I want the plug to stick out, so you see me fold it there. And just go around the light. I'm lining it up with the top edge of the spacer. You can put it anywhere, really. And just a quick test, just to make sure everything works. And so we'll plug it in. And this is the RGB LEDs, so we'll get different colors. I turned it on, and it's red, and everything's good. Now we can put the lettering, the full mirror on the back, and really all that's left to do is to take that connector and stick it down, and just get ready for the next step, which is to put some lights in to light up the letters. The letters inside the sign will be backlit, which is why we engrave the letter holes in the back of the mirror. And to do that backlight, I'm going to create another layer in the rearmost part of the light, and I'm going to do it with these two pieces where I can just laminate them together, and you can see it creates about a 6mm gap there. I'll put my light plug in, and the actual control box will be outside the light. Now I'm going to stop right here because you see me soldering the green wire to the G connector on the LED tape. However, this is an RGB LED string. In this case, you have a 12 volt and then a low side for red, for green, for blue. So the G is actually green. So when I powered this up off camera, it was actually working because the light happened to be green when I first started, but then I turned it to red and the light went out, and I was very confused. So in the end, you'll see it later in the video where I actually ran a ground wire from the little control box on the back inside the light to power the backlighting. And if you're confused by what's going on there, that's what's happening. So I'll go back and fix that green wire, but right now I'm going to solder the 12 volt supply and run the light. This was all pre-mistake, but I took that piece I cut, and I cut a slot out so that the cable can go out and the cable from inside the light can come in. Then I mounted some white LEDs on the inside, ran wires to all of them, and again I mentioned I ran that ground wire and mounted the control box onto the back, and really that was all that there was for the wiring. So just a couple of housekeeping things here. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back of the control box, and again you can see the green ground wire I ran there. You can just pop these things open. Now, I'll tell you, there's no ground wire on the output side of this, so anytime this is plugged in, my letters are going to be turned on, so it wasn't ideal, but it's workable. And so the letters are there, and just a bit of cleanup here, and we're ready for the big reveal. But before that, a couple of housekeeping things. So first of all the materials I used here, I'll put in the description down below. Those will be affiliate links, so if you use them, you're helping out the channel. But a lot of this stuff you can source locally, certainly the plywood and the mirror, if you're looking for that, even the glass. And do that if you can, because it's probably going to be cheaper. Now, since this light is actually made for our Shop Talk live stream, I'll take the opportunity to invite you to come and join us on that. It's Wednesdays at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern, and you can watch the playback because it's on all of our channels. And it's really just, we'll say, 4 prominent YouTubers hanging around, just kind of talking about our weeks and what we've been up to and what the industry is doing. But it's also an opportunity for you to come if you've got questions, if you're struggling with a project of some sort, feel free to bring it and ask us, and we're happy to try and help you solve your problems. We also do a lot of laser giveaways, so keep that in mind, and maybe you can get a free laser out of it as well. And here's the big reveal. It looks fantastic, at least I think so, except maybe for that thumbprint I should have cleaned off of there before, but whatever. I want to hear actually what you think of this, so by all means put a comment down below and I'll respond to that. Maybe you've got a better idea to do. Now, if you're interested in making cool lights like this, then I'd suggest the next video you want to watch is the one up in the corner here, where I make not only the brightest edge-lit LED sign you've ever seen, but it's also multiple colors, and that makes it the coolest thing ever. So go watch that one, and I'll wind down here. I'll say get out there, make your world, and I'll see you next time.